Bartel. I work for Zweiter GmbH, which is on the lower part. I want to tell a little bit about our 4-year story going into mobile networks. The title is Sigma 7 number 7. Probably you don't know what it is, but if you put a SIM card in your phone and switch it on, you're already using it. Because it's the main stack you are using your telephone for telephony, messaging, and everything else. We started 4 years ago. The other two companies are OnWaves, is an Icelandic telecommunication. The whole project is the courtesy of them because they're taking mandatory. Swisscom is a Berlin-based company in Germany, which do all stuff like mobile hardware, access stations. And we are probably providing the software for the whole stack. That's the stack. That's usually only a small part of what you're having to face if you're going mobile network, because it's a plenty amount of acronyms you never heard before. And if you see them, they don't mean what you think they mean. I'm not telling, you see at the lower level there's this MTP level stuff that's all maybe doing networking, and don't talk about that. We're going up to the rectangles where there's TCAP, map, and all the things above. But from the start, 4 years ago, we started implementing an SS7 parser and compiler. That's basically the driving force of the whole mobile network. It's grammar that if you parse and compile, you get a parser. So that's the 80s invention of having a very flexible framework of having formats of all sorts and don't have to implement the parsers all over again. And the purpose of the format is to have encoding for a wire protocol in a machine-independent manner, so it doesn't NES and anything doesn't matter, because you want to work with any architecture you may find on the way. ASN1 is 384 production rules. Everyone that does a little bit of parsing knows it's really a lot. The grammar is ambiguous, which is not nice, but you have to circumvent. But we've done all of the rules without the XML and constraints. There's some type settings and there's constraints. We don't have the constraints or any base implementation, and we left out the XML stuff. One reason is for this is in Faro, we just have 254 instance variables. The whole thing is based on KT parser, and that's a limitation you have to circumvent somehow if you're going over 254 instance variables. There's no way around it. But we're getting so far that all the rules we need are implemented. What I told before, if you parse the whole stuff, you end up with a new parser, but then you can actually start working. If you have the grammar right, then there's something like a TCAP, transaction capability application part, which is for us nothing else like a session handling, a state machine for you connect. You connect your phone, you want to communicate with any server, you open a session. Inside the session you have a stage, you send the emission, and you know it. The second thing is they have a RPC-like mechanism, so they can call operations and request response style data transfer. These are also specified in ASN1 grammar. So everything you communicate is based on grammars by ASN1. If you made it this far, you actually can implement an application being useful to anyone. One is the home location register. That's the place where all your SIM card information is stored. So you make a contract to your mobile provider, they put your record in an HLR, and if you switch it to Gresham, switch it on your phone, it just calls back home, proves if you are allowed to use the phone, and then it copies the data here, so you're allowed to use the mobile phone from Gresham. Yeah, it's more or less it's logging into the network. And you need an authentication center, which is mainly needed because the SIM card is kind of a cryptical device, so there is half of the keys on the SIM card, another part is in the HLR on the authentication center stored, and if you log in, someone can prove that your SIM card is actually one that is allowed to access the network. If this is all done, you're free to use the network. And, drum roll, actually after 4 years, we have a deployment that got into production 3 weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, which is actually in Iceland. But in the whole wide world of mobile communication, there's a firewall 3 running with a Garage SQL driver, storing customer data, and answers all your login attempts and checks all your SIM card states. So we're just about to take another part of the journey. So now we're starting, and we're trying to build even more services. So in the mid to far future, you might have a complete mobile network doing with your small talk images as you like. If you need one at home, just ask. So that's it. It's just an update.